All right, and now joining us will be Representative Dustin Burrows and Representative Charlie Geren. They're going to make a presentation on behalf of the House. So Dustin Burrows serves House District 83, which is up in Lubbock. And he grew up in Lubbock, graduated from Lubbock Monterey, went to Rhodes College, which I'm told they call themselves rodents at Rhodes, if I'm not mistaken. Got a bachelor's in economics, then went back home, graduated from law school at Texas, and I guess because he was bored, went ahead and got an MBA while he was at it. So he would have fit right into the Bonnen family with myself and Eleni and Mark. But the thing that you need to know most about Dustin is that I think it was 2017, Dennis was the chair of Ways and Means, and he was tasked with passing one bill. This was a very critical, very important bill that was going to help to curb our rate of growth in property taxes. And unfortunately, despite all of his skill and all of his relentless energy, he couldn't get it across the finish line. So when he became speaker, he had to figure out which poor soul he was going to draft into doing the one thing that he could not do when he was in that position. And so he chose Dustin Burrows to be the chair of Ways and Means, to pick up the baton, carry that legislation, and he did that, and he successfully got it to Governor Abbott's desk. So Dustin, thank you for doing that and for being with us. And then Charlie Geren, Chairman Geren, joins us from Fort Worth. Charlie is a little bit like Sharon, that he had to be Dennis's desk mate for a number of years. So on the floor of the House, with a few exceptions, we're set in pairs, where the furniture is together, and we call that our desk mate. So Dennis knows that Chairman Geren has been his counselor, his mentor, his where is Dennis? Can anybody find him? And that's a very worrisome job. But the things that I'll always remember about Charlie, and he's still with us, thank God, is that number one, he has the most deep baritone voice I've ever heard in my life. And I could be in my sleep and I'd hear that voice. I know that is Charlie Geren. The second thing is that he may be more blunt and more direct than Dennis is. So he's a man of few words, but he will tell you exactly where he stands, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. It's perfectly clear. He's 100% sincere and genuine and authentic. What you see is what you get with Charlie Geren. Guys, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg. The House wanted to get you a present, something to commemorate this special day. We didn't get you a building. We're not that fancy. Maybe Greg can help that. But we got you a piece of used furniture. And I thought it was real appropriate. I mean, I think most people probably on the outside will think about your legislative legacy with school finance, which was huge, first time done without a court order. Property tax, which I think everyone's going to find out real quickly actually works, which I'm real excited about, or getting your blind salamander bill vetoed by then Governor Perry, or whatever the big headlines are. But really your legacy, I think, is also not always told in the legislation that got the headlines. This is your desk chair. Take a good look at it. It's not very well used. We got a good deal on it that way. But I think that's why it was so important that this was a good gift, is because you were never at your desk. Not just because you like to walk around and have that kinetic energy the governor so eloquently talked about, because you're always doing something. And the House recognized that. If there was a scrum on the floor, which means people were getting in there fighting, Dennis was in the middle of it, not trying to make it worse, but trying to help people work through their issues and deal with it. If there was a problem with the Texas Senate, not saying senators there's ever a problem with that, he was over there using his Jedi mind tricks to get us back on track so we could end session with dignity. But most importantly, if there was a member that was going through personal issues, dealing with something, maybe it was a tough piece of legislation or something beyond that, Dennis was the most selfless member I've ever seen. He would go over there, he'd recognize it, he had this intuition, and he would help them and want to work with them and show them the process, and taught many of us, mentored many of us into what it means to be a good Texas House member. And you couldn't do that from that chair. You had to do that being on your feet. So I thought that was a good token of the House. This is from the entire House. our appreciation to you for your time in your 2 decades of service. And before I hand it over to Chairman Geren, I also want to say, Kim Jackson Gregory, thank you. Thank you for loaning him to us. Maybe it doesn't always feel like the House always appreciated him or the state of Texas, but we do. The people in this room know that what he did for Texas made us all better. He made us better as people, and the House will continue to be a much, much better place because he took the time with that person and that selflessness that he has, that energy to invest so much time, and that's going to carry on, and we're really blessed to have been able to serve with him. So thank you all.
Dennis, I promise you I'll be shorter than anybody that's been up here today. Those 2 boys spent more time in that chair than Dennis did. They really did. I sat with them, and I was pleased when Alan Ritter retired from the legislature. He was Dennis's desk mate, and Dennis was kind enough to let me move over there. And I learned a lot, and not to be disrespectful. I know you've never said that. I don't mean any disrespect, but it was there were some tough days, but they were fun. I think you and I have been dismissed from more lieutenant governor's offices than anybody in this room, often together. But Dennis, you're a dear, dear friend, and it was an honor, and I learned a hell of a lot from you. Thank you.